Today, we're talking about preseason game number 3 for the Chicago Bulls as they get set to take on the Milwaukee Bucks. We're going to be talking about the key storylines to watch in this game. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Buzelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about the Chicago Bulls versus the Milwaukee Bucks and just the key storylines to watch for. And so the first thing I think to watch for in this game is going to be the battle at the small forward position. And so we continue to talk about this, but Kevin Huerter did not get a chance to play in this last game because he was dealing with a groin at the time of this current recording. It still has him listed as day-to-day with that groin, but I do think that Kevin Huerter is still in the running for the small forward position, even though, Isaac Okoro brings the identity that this team is looking for on the defensive side of the ball. I still think that Billy Donovan has an interesting decision here because what Kevin Huerter can do. That Kevin Huerter really meshed well, with this team at the end of the season. And so I think that has to count for something. And I think that if he's able to really start to show those same signs as preseason goes along, Billy Donovan's going to have a tough decision because the type of punch on the offensive end that you're going to get with Kevin Huerter. I don't think that you lose too much on the defensive end. I know he's not Isaac Okoro, and I know he's not Ayo Dosunmu, but he still competes over there. And so, this is a player that, he helps the Bulls with their spacing. He helps you with the movement off ball and things like that. And so, let's see what happens here as the small forward battle continues on. And then also, too, do we possibly see maybe a mix up here with the lineup as far as does Billy Donovan continue to roll out Isaac Okoro? Could he possibly maybe throw Ayo Dosunmu out there and see what he has there in the starting lineup? Because, so far, I think with Isaac Okoro, he's going out there and you can tell the effort, the energy is there. I know the offense hasn't necessarily clicked like that, and I'm not necessarily worried about that. I think that Isaac Okoro is a guy that he's going to figure it out with this offense, and so I'm not too worried about him there. I'm just hoping that defensively he continues to bring this energy that it seems like that it's kind of just trickled through the whole team, and so you love that. And I think that if this team is going to take the next step, yes, they're going to have to get better on offense, but defense is going to have to take a major step. And Isaac Okoro or Ayo Dosunmu definitely help you with this. And so interesting decision. I think that this is something to watch for in this game coming up against the Milwaukee Bucks. And so the next thing I think to watch for in this game is really what is going to happen at the center position. And so with, Vuč here, Vuč missed due to rest. And so Vuč also didn't play that much in game 1. And we know what we are going to get with Vuč. He is a walking double-double, so I'm not worried about that. We also know that, yes, he does struggle on the defensive side of the ball. But, we've seen some pretty decent center play here from the backup centers. And so, I think that Zach Collins has done a great job as far as scoring the basketball. I'm liking what we're seeing with him. He had a buzzer beater in this last game. And so I love the fact that he's shooting the 3 ball, didn't necessarily shoot it the best with his last season, but the fact that the confidence is there, I love that. But then on top of that, you love the physicality that, he just really brings to this team. And I love the fact that he's great with the catch radius. And so, the guards definitely can find him, whether it's Yuki Kawamura or it is Josh Giddey, Trey Jones, anybody out there. Like, he's terrific with catching the basketball and finishing. And so I love that with Zach Collins. Hopefully we see some more of that and just his ability to get to the rebounds, because that's also another step that the Bulls are going to have to continue to do is they need to dominate the boards. They need to have more of a paint presence. And so perhaps he helps us there. And then also too, with Jalen Smith, look, he is fighting to get back into the rotation. And so I think he certainly has the talent to help this team. But I think the more chances that he gets, I think the more, Billy Donovan has to consider him. And so I love that. And so hopefully he gets a chance to continue on. But that is something that I'm looking forward to seeing here is just really how the rotation is going to work at the center position, because yes, they could have Vuč penciled in as the starter, which we know Vooch is going to be. But still, if you're trying to figure out how you want to get certain players out there in certain, rotations and things like that, then that suggests that in preseason here, you need to give them the opportunity. And so let's see what Billy Donovan does there. And then next, I think the next thing to look for in this game is going to be our rookies. And so especially Noe Essengue, I thought that he played very well in game one. Game two, he didn't score as much, but still I thought the activity is there. And so with Noe Essengue, you just wonder, is he going to have the same path as Buzelis? Because if he continues to show flashes and things like this, I can see that they would put him in the G League sometime, but for the most part, maybe they do just want to put him out there for a couple minutes here and there just to get him some good experience. And so I think that if he's able to come in here in the preseason and continue to show, these flashes and things like that, it's going to make Billy Donovan and this staff kind of think a little bit more about what the plan is for Noe Essengue. And so I've said this before, if Noe Essengue can take the same type of similar path as Buzelis, and he can really claw for some major minutes by the end of the season, that would be a huge success for the Chicago Bulls. And it's certainly, I think, really just kind of paves the direction and the path that they would be on. I think that this would be a great thing for this team. And then next, just really, I want to see how he's going to respond in this game because, we haven't seen Giannis in the preseason just yet. There's the possibility maybe that they will play him. I believe he's been rested. Miles Turner will be out there as well. And so I think that would really challenge the interior defense. And it also, too, would challenge the team and really what they're trying to build with their foundation with this defense to be more physical. And also, too, when you're talking about the physicality offensively, are you going to be still challenging, Miles Turner and Giannis and these guys like that if they're in the paint? That is another, dimension to being physical as well. And so let's see what happens if we see Giannis out there. I think it would be a terrific test here for Noe Essengue, Lachlan, Olbrich, and just really the entire team with the physicality because they need that. So next, and the last thing that I think we should be looking for really going into this game is going to be Buzelis and him continuing to take steps forward on the offense and the defensive side of the ball. And so I think that you can tell that this is a player that is very aware of just what he is doing on the court this season, not to take anything away from him his rookie season, but you could just tell there's a certain energy, there's a certain vibe around Buzelis that he has even more confidence than he had a season ago. And that's scary to say because Buzelis has never lacked confidence, but that confidence is showing in a good way here because he's not afraid to take the basketball, from that half court line or when he gets it. And if he feels like he has an advantage, he will get to that step through and he will go downhill and get to the bucket. So I love the fact that he is getting there. I think that you're going to start to see his game take off even more on the offensive side of the ball when he starts to really start to shake defenses up and get to like the mid range and step backs and stuff like that and continue to show even more confidence knocking down the three ball. I love what we saw, when Josh Giddey hit him in the corner and he knocked that one down. And so more of that, but defensively, his ability to stay in front of his man and also to not be thrown off the spot, because I think with that added strength, that's what you're talking about with him. And I said this before, he's going to be able to maneuver through screens. And then also, too, when the offensive player goes to create some contact, because his core is much stronger, you're not going to be able to rock him off of his spot. He's going to be able to use his length and athleticism to either block the shot or make it tough for you. And so I want to see some more of that from Buzelis. He's already said that he wants to be the most improved player of the year. And he also said that his defense is going to be the thing that stands out. And look, he was not shy against Giannis last year. I would love to see him have another moment here against Giannis and Miles Turner this year. And so let's see what happens there. And so those are my storylines going into this game. Again, we'll be talking post-game after the game is over as the Chicago Bulls get set to take on the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks are away, and so they will be visiting the Chicago Bulls. And so let's see if the Bulls can stay 3-0 in preseason play not a big deal, but I'm just loving what we're seeing from this team as far as the energy, the effort, and just really, it seems like this team is much more connected on the defensive side of the ball. Yes, it's not perfect. I know that they need to fix the turnovers, and, also too, there's some lapses out there and things like that, but you can just tell that this team has a different type of vibe. And I'll say it again, it just seems like the team is even more hungry than they were a season ago. And so let's see what happens here. And so you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking as far as key storylines going into this one. Again, I said modest Buzelis, and just really him taking another step forward. Our rookies here with Noe Essengue, Lachlan, Olbrich, hopefully they get a chance to shine some more, along with Yuki Kawamura. I'd love to see some more of him as well. And then also too, this center rotation. I think that even if Vuč does play, you still want to see if Jalen Smith can fight his way into the rotation. I think that he certainly should be in there this year. And then Zach Collins, he's looked awfully good here. And so much like Kevin Huerter did at the end of the season last year, I think that you're seeing a player that's certainly comfortable here with this team, and I think he's primed to be an impact player here. And then next, talking about just the small forward position. And so again, we don't know what's going to happen with Kevin Huerter. Last time we saw, he was listed with a groin injury, and so let's see if he does suit up. If he does suit up, would this be a situation where, we still would see him start? Would we see more just Isaac Okoro start as well? Would we see maybe Ayo Dosunmu out there? And so, and just also to be clear as well, like both players would start in this one because we still don't have Coby White, which leads me to one point that I wanted to bring up before we jumped out of here, that I believe the plan for him is still to play him at the end of preseason. I did see that as well. So I do see several reports that say that. So for right now, you probably are going to see Kevin Huerter, and then you're also going to see Isaac Okoro out there. But it doesn't mean that, Billy Donovan's not evaluating, because he's going to have to figure something out once Coby White gets back, because he's going to start the two, but you need to figure out who's going to start at small forward. So again, maybe he throws a different combination out there in this game. And so we'll see what happens. But anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, go Bulls, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.